All right, so today we're going deep on some teachings called Murli.
Murli.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're looking at excerpts from January 6th, 2025.
Okay.
And I got to say, it gets pretty mind-bending.
Yeah.
We're talking about a supreme being, a repeating cycle of time, and even like the power of silence in a world that just will not shut up.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
How Murli frames all of this.
Okay.
Like the idea of a supreme being who is not just like some distant figure, but actually involved as the remover of sorrow and the bestower of happiness.
Okay, so we get this powerful being who's all about like bringing good vibes.
Yeah.
But like, how does that actually work? Does this being just like sprinkle happiness dust on everyone?
Well, not exactly. The Murli suggests this being guides humanity towards true happiness, but it happens at specific times.
Okay.
And get this, it's connected to this whole cycle of time thing.
Okay, the cycle of time.
Yes.
I'm getting like Age of Aquarius vibes here.
So,
Is this like astrology stuff?
it's similar to ideas you might find in like different philosophies, but with a unique twist.
So.
Imagine history not as a straight line,
Okay.
but like as a repeating cycle, moving from a golden age to a dark age and back again.
Ah.
The Murli compare it to the events of the Mahabharat War, a really important epic in Indian mythology.
The Mahabharat War.
Yeah,
Wow, that's some serious stuff.
it is.
But how does this cycle connect to like me in 2025?
Well, that's the really interesting part.
Sure.
The Murli suggests that understanding the cycle isn't just about knowing history.
Right.
It's about understanding how we evolve within it,
Okay.
individually and collectively.
Okay.
Each cycle is like a chance to learn, grow, and maybe even like break free from old patterns that cause sorrow.
So it's not just that time repeats.
Right.
It's that we have the opportunity to like do things differently each time around.
Exactly.
That's kind of hopeful, actually.
Yeah, it is.
But what about this true happiness the Murli talk about?
Right.
Is that just like winning the lottery and eating pizza every day?
Not quite.
Right.
Murli seems to define true happiness as something much deeper,
Yeah.
something that comes from within,
Right.
not from external things.
Okay.
And this is where knowledge comes in.
Uh-huh.
They actually talk about a sacrificial fire of knowledge.
Yeah.
What comes to mind when you hear that?
Okay. Sacrificial fire of knowledge. That's pretty intense imagery.
It is.
I'm picturing like throwing all my bad habits and negative thoughts into a fire and watching them burn away.
Yeah,
Is that on the right track?
you're getting the idea.
Okay.
The Murli seem to be saying that knowledge, true understanding, can purify us.
Okay.
Help us burn away the stuff that's blocking us from experiencing true happiness.
So it's not just about knowing a bunch of facts.
Right.
It's about using knowledge to transform ourselves.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole emphasis on silence, too, right? Which seems kind of counterintuitive in our world of, like, constant information overload.
Exactly. Like, it's almost radical in today's world, isn't it?
It is.
But Murli specifically contrasts the power of silence or yoga
Right.
with what they call the destructive power of modern science.
Huh.
They seem to be suggesting that in all the noise and chaos of our world,
Right.
we've lost touch with something important,
Okay.
something that silence can help us rediscover.
So in a world that's obsessed with the, like, next big thing and always being on,
Yeah.
the Murlis are saying, hey, maybe try chilling out for a minute.
Yeah.
I could definitely see the appeal of that.
Yeah.
But where does this concept of purity fit into all of this?
Well, the Murli talks a lot about purity,
Okay.
contrasting the purity of deities
Right.
with the impurity of humans.
Okay.
And this ties into some traditional Hindu concepts like the caste system and rituals involving purity.
Now, the caste system is obviously like a complex and sensitive topic.
It is.
How do the Murli approach this?
They acknowledge these traditional concepts, but introduce a really unique twist,
Okay.
talking about true Brahmins who are mouth-born from a spiritual father.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Mouth-born.
Mouth-born.
That sounds like something straight out of a mythology book.
It does.
What does that even mean?
It definitely challenges the usual ideas about lineage and birth.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a core part of how the Murli views spiritual identity and the path to returning home,
Okay.
to a state of purity and happiness.
Okay. I am hooked.
Yeah.
We're talking about time cycles, knowledge is fire,
Right.
being mouth-born, and a journey home.
That's right.
This is definitely a lot to unpack.
It is.
But before we go any further, I'm curious what stood out to you the most from these Murli teachings so far?
What's really striking me is this idea that we're not just passive passengers in this cycle of time.
Okay.
The Murli suggests that we have a role to play.
Right.
Choices to make that influence our individual journey.
Right.
And even the collective evolution of humanity. It's a powerful and potentially empowering perspective.
I totally agree. It's like we've been handed a map and a compass,
Right.
but it's up to us to decide which direction we want to head in.
Absolutely. And with that thought, maybe it's time to take a break and let our listeners ponder that for a bit.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll be back soon to dive even deeper into these fascinating Murli teachings.
Welcome back. We're picking up our deep dive into these Murli teachings,
Yeah.
and I'm ready to get into like the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've talked about big concepts like the cycle of time and this sacrificial fire of knowledge.
Right.
But what does it all mean for like actually living our lives? Do the Murli give any practical advice?
They absolutely do, and it's not just vague platitudes either.
Okay.
Remember, the Murli emphasize the importance of remembering the Supreme Being
Right.
as a way to purify the soul and move closer to true happiness.
Yeah.
What do you think that looks like in practice?
Well, based on what we've discussed so far, I'm imagining it's not just about like randomly thinking about this Supreme Being while you're making coffee.
Right.
There's got to be more to it.
You're right. It's about making a conscious effort, a deliberate practice.
Right.
The Murli suggests setting aside specific time for this remembrance,
Okay.
almost like taking a leave from your usual routine to really focus on connecting with this source of purity and happiness.
So it's more like a dedicated practice like meditation or prayer?
Exactly. And they even acknowledge that it's not always easy to stay focused.
Right.
They talk about these distractions, these forces that pull us away from remembrance, which they call Maya.
Maya.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard that term before in like spiritual contexts.
Right.
What does it mean in the context of these Murli teachings?
In the Murli, Maya represents all the things that tempt us, distract us, and essentially keep us trapped in cycles of negativity and sorrow.
Okay.
It's not just external distractions, either like your phone buzzing or a busy schedule.
Right.
It's also about our own internal patterns, those negative thoughts or habits that keep us stuck.
So Maya is like this powerful force that's always trying to pull us off track,
Yeah.
both from the outside and from within ourselves.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty tough battle.
It can be.
Do the Murli offer any strategies for like overcoming Maya?
They emphasize that it requires effort, a conscious choice, to prioritize remembrance and align ourselves with the Supreme Being.
Okay.
It's about recognizing those moments when Maya is trying to take over
Right.
and making the effort to bring our focus back to what truly matters.
It's like training your mind, kind of like building a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you practice focusing on remembrance, the stronger that muscle gets and the easier it becomes to resist the pull of Maya.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And it highlights that this is an ongoing process, not a one-time fix.
Right.
We're all constantly navigating Maya, and the Murli encourage us to be vigilant,
Okay.
to keep making the effort to choose remembrance and connection.
Okay, so we've got this idea of dedicated practice, setting aside time for remembrance, and consciously battling Maya.
Right.
What else do the Murli say about how we can like integrate these teachings into our daily lives? Can't all be about sitting in silence, right?
Absolutely not. The Murli also talk a lot about how we interact with others.
Right.
Remember, the Supreme Being is described as the remover of sorrow and the bestower of happiness.
Right.
And the teachings encourage us to embody those qualities in our own relationships and actions.
So it's about taking that inner state of peace and happiness we cultivate through remembrance and letting it radiate outwards, influencing how we treat others.
Exactly. The Murli talk about speaking sweetly, treating everyone with love and humility,
Okay.
and avoiding causing sorrow to others.
Right.
It's about bringing a sense of kindness and compassion to every interaction.
But does that mean we have to be doormats, always agreeing with everyone and avoiding conflict?
It's not about being passive or shying away from difficult conversations. Remember, the Murli also emphasize the importance of sharing this knowledge with others,
Right.
even if it challenges their existing beliefs.
So how do we balance that?
Yeah.
How do we share these teachings in a way that's compassionate and respectful without coming across as preachy or judgmental?
The Murli emphasizes using tact and discretion.
Okay.
They suggest speaking in a way that inspires happiness in the listener,
Right.
rather than creating resistance or negativity.
Okay.
It's about meeting people where they are and finding ways to connect with them authentically.
It sounds like it's all about being mindful of how our words and actions impact others, even when we're trying to share something we believe is deeply beneficial.
Yeah.
It's like choosing the right tool for the job, being sensitive to each individual situation.
The Murli actually use the analogy of an archer carefully aiming their arrow to ensure it hits its target.
Okay.
It's about choosing our words and actions thoughtfully with the intention of uplifting and inspiring others.
That's a really powerful image.
It is.
It suggests that sharing these teachings effectively requires skill and awareness.
Absolutely.
We can't just throw information at people and expect them to magically get it.
Exactly. And remember, everyone is at a different stage in their spiritual journey.
Right.
Some people might be ready to embrace these ideas, while others might need more time or a different approach.
Right.
It's about being patient and respectful of each person's process.
This is making me think about the role of those true Brahmins we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
The ones who are mouth-born from a spiritual father.
Right.
It seems like they might have a special role to play in sharing these teachings.
Yeah.
What do the Murli say about that?
The Murli suggests that these true Brahmins are those who have most fully embodied these teachings
Okay.
and are equipped to guide others.
Okay.
They're not just teachers in a traditional sense, though.
Right.
They're seen as embodiments of the knowledge, living examples of what it means to live in alignment with a supreme being.
So they're like spiritual mentors, helping others navigate the path to purity and happiness.
Precisely, and because they are seen as having been reborn through this spiritual knowledge, their role is to help others achieve that same transformation.
That sounds like a pretty profound responsibility.
It is.
But also incredibly fulfilling if you're truly committed to these teachings and want to see them benefit others.
Absolutely. And the Murli emphasize that this isn't about personal gain or recognition. It's about selflessly dedicating yourself to the well-being of others and contributing to a more positive and peaceful world.
Now that brings us back to this idea of service that we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
What exactly does service mean in the context of the Murli teachings?
In the Murli, service refers to actively sharing these teachings and helping others connect with the Supreme Being.
Okay.
It's not just about individual practice, it's about actively contributing to a collective shift towards greater happiness and purity.
So it's about putting those principles of kindness, compassion, and skillful communication into action to help others find their own path.
Exactly. And it can take many forms, from giving talks and holding exhibitions to simply having one-on-one conversations with friends and family.
The Murli seem to encourage getting creative with it too, right?
Absolutely.
Like using badges or holding public discussions to engage people in a way that feels accessible and inviting.
You're absolutely right. The Murli emphasize finding ways to make these teachings relevant and appealing to a wide audience.
Right.
It's about meeting people where they are and finding ways to spark their interest and curiosity.
Now, this whole conversation is really highlighting the collective aspect of these teachings.
It is.
We've talked about the individual journey of returning home.
Right.
But now I'm wondering if there's also like a collective dimension to that homecoming.
That's a really insightful observation.
Thanks.
The Murli do seem to suggest that we're all on this journey together.
Okay.
Moving towards a state of unity and harmony, both individually and as a collective.
And perhaps part of that journey involves supporting each other, sharing these teachings, and helping each other find our way back to that shared home.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it?
It is.
That we're not alone in this journey and that we have the power to uplift and inspire each other along the way.
But it also makes me wonder about those who might not be open to these teachings or who actively resist them.
Right.
Where do they fit in to this cycle of time and this idea of a collective homecoming?
That's a question that we'll delve into further as we continue exploring the Murli teachings. Stay tuned because we still got a lot to unpack.
All right, we're back for like the final part of our deep dive into the Murli teachings.
Okay.
And I got to say, my mind is still swirling with all these fascinating ideas.
I bet.
We've talked about personal transformation, overcoming challenges,
right,
and even like the concept of a collective homecoming.
Yeah.
But one thing that keeps coming back to me is this whole cyclical view of time.
Yeah.
It really challenges how we normally think about progress, doesn't it?
It certainly does. The Murli present a very different perspective from like the linear, always forward view of time that we often take for granted.
Right.
They see time not as a straight line, but more like a spiral.
Okay.
We might move through periods of darkness and light, but each cycle brings an opportunity for growth and renewal.
So it's not just about repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
Right.
There's a chance to evolve each time we go through the cycle.
Exactly. Think of it like a student taking a course multiple times.
Okay.
They may not have grasped all the concepts the first time around,
Right.
but each attempt brings them closer to mastering the material.
Right.
In this view, humanity is the student, and each cycle of time is a chance to learn, grow, and move closer to true understanding.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
It makes this whole concept of cyclical time feel less daunting and more hopeful.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how this connects back to the idea of returning home.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one-time event, but a continuous process of refinement, of moving closer to that state of spiritual purity and connection with the Supreme Being.
You're exactly right. Each cycle is a step on that journey, bringing us closer to rediscovering our true nature and aligning ourselves with that ultimate source of happiness and peace.
It really makes you think about challenges in a whole new light.
It does.
If those periods of darkness are inevitable,
right,
maybe they're not just random events, but opportunities for learning and growth.
Exactly.
It's almost like built-in course correction.
That's a very insightful way to look at it.
Thanks.
And it raises a crucial question.
Okay.
If we know that periods of difficulty are woven into the fabric of time, how can we navigate them with greater awareness and resilience?
Right.
What tools do the Murli offer for facing those inevitable tough times?
Yeah, well, all ears. What guidance do the Murli offer for weathering the storms?
Well, remember that emphasis on knowledge as a purifying force.
Yeah.
During those times of darkness, that knowledge becomes even more vital.
Okay.
It's like a lamp illuminating the path,
All right.
helping us stay on course when it's easy to lose our way.
So instead of getting overwhelmed by fear or despair,
Yeah.
we can use those teachings, those insights as a compass to find our way back to the light.
Precisely. And let's not forget the power of silence.
Right.
When surrounded by chaos and negativity, withdrawing into a space of inner stillness can be incredibly grounding.
Yeah.
It allows us to reconnect with that inner source of strength and wisdom.
It's like finding a peaceful sanctuary amidst the storm, a place to recharge and regain perspective.
Exactly. And the Murli also emphasize the importance of community during difficult times.
Okay.
Remember those principles of kindness, compassion, and supporting one another.
Yeah.
Those become even more crucial when things get tough.
It's like that saying, a burden shared is a burden halved.
Exactly.
You don't have to go through challenges alone.
Right.
Leaning on each other, sharing our strength and wisdom can make all the difference.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Thanks.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and understanding that we're all in this cycle together.
Right.
Supporting each other is not just a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
It's essential for navigating the ups and downs of this journey.
You know, this whole conversation has been a real eye-opener for me.
I'm glad.
I'm seeing challenges in a new light, and I'm feeling more hopeful about our potential to create positive change, even in the face of difficulty.
What I find truly inspiring about the Murli is that they don't just offer a philosophical framework.
Right.
They provide practical tools for navigating life's inevitable ups and downs.
Right.
Remembrance, knowledge, silence, community.
Yeah.
These are all resources we can draw on to move through challenges with greater grace and purpose.
It's like we've been given a toolkit for spiritual growth, and now it's up to us to put those tools to use.
Absolutely.
Powerful realization.
And the Murli remind us that this is a continuous process of learning and growth.
Right.
We may not achieve perfection in any given cycle,
Right.
but each step we take toward greater awareness, compassion, and connection brings us closer to that ultimate goal of returning home.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Murli teachings, what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing you hope they carry with them?
If time is cyclical, as the Murli suggest, and we're all on this journey toward returning home to a state of happiness and purity, then the question becomes, what choices can we make today to align ourselves with that goal? What resonated most with you from this exploration? What will you carry forward?
For me, it's a reminder that even amidst the challenges and inevitable periods of darkness, there's always hope.
Yeah.
We have the power to choose knowledge over ignorance, love over fear, and connection over isolation.
Absolutely.
And those choices made consistently over time can lead us toward a brighter future, both individually and collectively.
Beautifully said. And that's the real magic of a deep dive like this. It's not about giving definitive answers, but about sparking curiosity and inspiring you to explore these ideas further.
Right.
What insights will you carry forward from this exploration of the Murli teachings? That's something to ponder as we conclude our dive for today.